our feature presentation.
He'll be fine on the mountain.
JB and Darren on the JB and Goldwater Show.
Line drive right field, base hit. South Carolina wins the College World Series.
Watson, touchdown! Hunter Renfro.
He got him, and it's all over. Carolina rules the roost. They win the championship. And South Carolina has won the national championship.
The Senegal baseball team has done it again, but this time the Bulldogs beat one of the top teams in the country. They are giant killers. Get the ball to Bennett. He does.
Gamecocks are in the Final Four.
All right, greetings and a good Tuesday afternoon, and welcome aboard the JB and Goldwater Show, live, loud, and online. Very proudly presented by Motley Rice, causes, not just cases. MotleyRice.com, driven by Stokes Volkswagen. Find them at StokesVW.com. And make sure you've downloaded our app, the JB and Goldwater app. It's free. It's in your phone. You take us anywhere you want to take us. Any market you are in, you can have us right there. We're in every market. We're marketable everywhere because we're online. It's easy. Download the app. Tell your friends about it. As Darren always says, rate it when you get in there. If you don't like something, tell us, and maybe we can work on it and try to get that part fixed. But we certainly appreciate your feedback, and we absolutely appreciate everybody. There's a lot of people that have downloaded it, put it that way. I don't have the exact numbers because it takes 48 hours to calculate all of them. But I do know that that within the last 48 hours, I was unbelievably impressed by our audience. So that is fantastic. Thank you so much for that. Thank you for being with us today and comment in the Share Healthcare chat lines. Craig's already in there, and we know so many more will be as the afternoon rolls along. It's a busy day. It always is around here. We've got another baseball preview coming up at 12:30. It's Mark Kingston, head coach of the Gamecocks. They're ready to go on Friday. UNC Greensboro will be in town for a 3-game series to lead the 2022 season off at Founders Park. I hope many of you can get out and watch some baseball this weekend, but certainly looking forward to speaking with Coach King about his guys and about partying. You might not know what I'm talking about, but
I know about partying. I'm good.
Mark's been a part of some high-profile parties lately, so we're going to get into all of that and much more. Keith Allsep will join us right around 1:30 or so in the second hour of our program. He's with the Locked On The Gamecocks podcast. Good day for him because tonight's an important basketball game on the road at the Pavilion in Oxford for the men. The ladies continue to do what they do, which is, win. And so we'll get a preview in that one from Keith, and we'll also talk about the success. I don't know. I actually did not do any research, and I don't know what's going on, but Dawn is all upset about something that has to do with Aaliyah Boston. And I was about to text Keith earlier and ask him, hey, what's going on? And then I thought, you know what? I'm not going to do that. I'm going to play dumb, and I'm being serious. I don't know what she's upset about. But Keith, I'm sure, does. So we'll ask him about that here in just a little while. More hoops to get to. We'll talk some college football, Super Bowl ratings and stuff like that. We're going to tie all that into one conversation and much more around here this afternoon. Anything that might be on your mind, make sure that you pass it along to us and plug it in. Craig's already done so. 0-5 on the prop bets. My bookie kicked my rear end. I'm done betting. Well, all right. So look, Darren, I'm gonna let you take that because I'm not a bettor, but I'll give Craig some credit here. At least he knows when to stop. There's a lot of people out there that don't know when to stop.
There you go. Look, a lot of the popular prop bets didn't hit. So I think a lot of people are in the same boat. There have been a couple of different casino managers discussing where things went well and where things didn't go so well. The Bengals did not win on the money line, so that's good for the casinos. They took an obscene amount of both money and in particular prop bet money and netted on that. So that's where the casinos made a lot of their money in this. So Craig is not alone. I did not have a good Super Bowl either.
But you had a good weekend though.
I am
Like overall.
demolishing college basketball right now. I am on a epic lifelong heater of a couple of days right now. But right before the show, I started following. This is a hard right turn I'm taking right now because we'll get into the Kentucky-Carolina game and Clemson and it's Kentucky and Tennessee and Ole Miss and Carolina. So there's tons to do. But earlier, not long before the show, I was following the Eric K trial. If you're not paying attention to that, that's the Angels pitcher, Tyler Skaggs, who passed away of a drug overdose. Yeah. TJ Quinn, the investigative reporter for ESPN, is in the courtroom. He is tweeting, and Matt Harvey was on the stand, and another player followed him onto the stand. And it is eye-opening stuff. Heath Klein up in Columbia tweeted out something, and he is dead on. Not often do you hear Major League Baseball players, current or former, talking about drug use in clubhouses and in dugouts. And that's what you're hearing on this trial. It is, I'm getting chills talking about it. I'd recommend following TJ Quinn on Twitter and going through his timeline and hearing what Matt Harvey has said and what some of the prosecution is alleging and the defense. It's scary stuff. And it does tie in line with what David Shelton's purpose in life is, getting the message out about opioid abuse. This was Oxy, because it's real. It's real. And it was sobering stuff to be following that earlier today.
Yeah, I haven't kept up with it, but now you've inspired me to do so. I'm glad you have. It is real. It's absolutely real. Over the years, I've heard plenty of stories about things like this. Not to the extent of overdose. I'm not saying that, but just in sports, kids who get into it and can't get out of it for one reason or another. It's awful.
Yeah.
So we follow TJ Quinn, you said on Twitter, right?
Yes. TJ Quinn, the investigative reporter for ESPN.
Yeah, he does a good job.
Yeah, no,
he's really good.
You're going to have the same reaction I did. Anyone going through it, your eyes are going to get wide and you're going to be glued to scrolling through and seeing what has been said. It's sobering stuff.
12:07 on a Tuesday afternoon. It's tonight in the state of South Carolina, or teams from the state of South Carolina. As we mentioned, Carolina is at Ole Miss, and Clemson, they're at Florida State, and Florida State certainly is taking a tumble from what they were looking like earlier in the season. That win for South Carolina these days, Darren, is more and more looking like they just should have won the game instead of it being an upset. Maybe Carolina is just better than Florida State. I think they are because they beat them. So that's kind of where things are. Again, we're going to get into a lot of that outside of that nationally in college basketball. Darren, Wake Forest is at Duke tonight, and I'm going to come back to that in just a second for a very, very, very cool thing that we came across this morning. Texas is at Oklahoma. Texas only a 1-point favorite. They're on the road in Norman. That's a 7:00 tip. Duke and Wake, that's a 7:00 tip. Duke's a 10-point favorite, but hey, hello, everybody. Wake Forest is 20-6 on the season. They've had a great year, so certainly something to keep an eye on there. You mentioned Kentucky and Tennessee at 9:00 tonight on ESPN. Going to be a lot of eyeballs on that one. Two of the best 3 or 4 teams in the SEC. Wyoming might be on upset alert, 9:00 tonight in Albuquerque in what they call the pit against New Mexico. The Cowboys are just 6-point favorites in that game. Arkansas is at Missouri tonight. Arkansas probably needs to be careful. They're riding a lot of momentum. Missouri can pack a punch at home at times, so careful there. Wisconsin is on the road at Indiana. Hello. ESPN 2 at 9:00 tonight. I know Darren's going to have his eyeballs on that one. 15th ranked Badgers at Indiana. Indiana is a 3-point favorite in the game. They are looking to get one game ahead or above 500 on the season in the Big Ten, but 16-8 overall. Minnesota is at 18th ranked Ohio State tonight. Probably feel pretty good about the Buckeyes' chances there. And I've omitted one. Oh yeah, it's at the Dunkin' Donuts Center in Providence, Rhode Island. A top 10 matchup between Villanova and Providence, 10-8, 8 o'clock tonight on the CBS Sports Network. That could be the game of the evening. Villanova is a 4.5-point favorite, Darren, on the road. You're the basketball betting guru. What do you have to add to that slate? It's a nice one.
It's a really good one. The lines are really tight today, so I don't have very many good leans at the moment. I do like Wake. I got him at a better number than 10. I do think that is I think that's a tighter game. I mean, just plain and simple, I think that's too many points to give Wake. But there's a lot of not questionable. I think they're good. I think the lines are pretty much right on. I like Texas over Oklahoma. That Villanova game is one to keep an eye on because that's the two best teams in the Big East. Providence has been getting really lucky. Ken Pom has these luck ratings, and I think they're number 8 in the country in luck ratings. So there's a lot of thought that sooner or later Providence slides back down to reality a little bit, and that this could be one of those spots. But the race is these two teams. I think there's 5 games left in the regular season. You didn't mention Penn State and Michigan State, but I like Michigan State a lot in that game, even though it's at Happy Valley. It's an interesting slate. Clemson and Florida State both desperately need a win. The South Carolina line, if it keeps going in the way I think it's going, then I might hit myself and take the Gamecocks if it keeps going the way it's going right now. So I think that could be a pretty close game. I think the Gamecocks can win that game.
Yeah, I think they can. It's been a struggle to win in Oxford. Ole Miss leads the series all time inside of their own gym, 15-2. Remember, that's the pavilion is fairly newly built over there. Only 2 South Carolina wins have taken place. One back in 2016, one back in 2008. That's it. That is it in Oxford. So there's not really been much success at all in the building. Frank 6-8 versus Ole Miss since he's been in Columbia, and just 1-5 over there on the road. Carolina has lost 3 straight in the series, but hey, Ole Miss has also lost 3 straight games coming in, only by an average of about 8 points per game, though. And those teams are named Florida, Alabama, and then I mentioned Missouri earlier. At Missouri, they lost up there as well. But prior to that was kind of their stretch run of the year. They won 3 of 4, and those were wins over Florida, LSU, and Kansas State. So, look, Ole Miss is capable. Carolina is 3-3 on the road in the SEC. Vanderbilt, A&M, and Georgia. And, you know, Darren, I'd probably say that A&M and Vandy are comparable road atmospheres to what they're going to see tonight in Oxford. So it's not going to be something that's just going to blow the doors off the building or anything like that. But at the end of the day, yeah, you just got to win, and you got LSU coming up this weekend. They could really be riding a lot of momentum. If they can get the win tonight, Saturday could be a lot of fun at Colonial Life Arena. They're going to honor the 1971 ACC championship team. They're going to honor my favorite team outside of the Final Four team, of course, ever. The 1997 SEC championship team. That was Ryan Stack and B.J. Mackey and Larry Davis and Melvin Watson and Bud Johnson and William Gallman and all those guys. They'll be back in town. Eddie Fogler, of course, was the coach. You know, College Game Day is going to be there on Sunday for the ladies and the Vols. So could be a special weekend from a hoop standpoint, but got to win tonight if you're South Carolina, and certainly looking forward to see what Keith has to say about that in just a little while. Coming off of that win at Georgia, again, they've just owned the Dogs. I mean, they've just flat out owned them. And that's just one of those things sometimes you just can't explain it. You just own the other guy. Even in the years, the past few, couple of the last, I mean, Carolina wasn't good last year. They were terrible, and they still beat Georgia, so it's just one of those things where they just kind of own it. Adam asks in the Share Healthcare chat lines, has that bridge ever been repaired? Fogler and USC. Yeah, look, Adam, Eddie's got I think he's, from what I understand, he's got a good relationship with the University of South Carolina. I don't know much more than that, and I know that there were some issues at some point in time, but from everything I understand, Eddie Fogler is very much pulls for the Gamecocks. I mean, shoot, he still lives in Columbia. Used to do a lot of TV and things like that, and I think he's been a big supporter of Frank, and so it's what I know. Craig, if Frank is gone after this year, do you think South Carolina would ever look at Andy Kennedy, or is he too close with Frank to bring him in? I really like him as a coach. Craig, I agree with you, man. I like Andy Kennedy. I've always liked Andy Kennedy. I loved him on TV. I really like what he's doing at UAB. Ole Miss is similar to South Carolina. It's hard to be consistently successful in college basketball, it seems. And I thought he did a really nice job over there running the Rebels program. He was there for a long, long time. I don't know if the question is he too close with Frank to, quote, bring him in, Craig, although I understand what you're asking. I almost wonder if Andy Kennedy, even if he was, let's say that scenario played out and he got a call, I don't know that Andy Kennedy would be one to say, sure, I'd love to have that job following one of my best friends in the industry. I just don't see it. I really don't. I don't know that he wouldn't be worth a phone call. I think he's a great basketball coach, but I just don't know that Andy would be comfortable doing something like that if he has aspirations to get back to, the SEC or that type of level of hoops. I don't know that he'd be comfortable coaching following a guy that he has so much respect for in Frank.
Number one, I can't think of a time where a good friend has followed
No, Jamie.
a fired friend. Yes, I threw this up there. No,
Jamie, I love you, but no.
What Jamie asked in the Share Healthcare chat line, if you didn't see that, if there's a change, is Greg Marshall an option? No. Greg Marshall's not an option anywhere ever. That's done. And I went through that when all that was happening last year. I was in on that pretty hard with everything I got, and I'm still in on that. Greg Marshall is not going to be a head coach again.
Well, and to piggyback on your shoulders, I mean, I am not. This isn't me saying you're right or wrong. I don't have that answer, but I feel really comfortable with saying as long as Ray Tanner's AD, nah, Frank Marshall, he won't touch ground on that campus.
And if one of the we both disagree, but if one of the complaints of Frank Martin is his sideline demeanor and the way he treats people, Greg Marshall's not the right option to go in that direction, because you're going from like one far degree and then go way past that in the same direction, and that's where you find Greg Marshall.
Well, and I think that you actually just brought up a great point, and that is very worthy of proving here, because Frank does get a bad rap from a lot of people and how he treats players, but he has never crossed that line. Not one time. Nothing. Zero. Zilch. And you're never going to hear it. Frank might throw out some dirty words during games and chew people out and stare a hole right through you, and that might not be something that you like, and that's okay. Okay, I'm not telling anybody that they're wrong to feel that way. I none of that. That's not what this is about. But the reality of it is, and Greg was fiery on the sidelines too, Darren, as you long know, you've been around him plenty of times in your life. But what he did behind the scenes,
terrible.
It's night and day. So like the people that say things about Frank, and how he treats his players and stuff like that, behind the scenes, he loves his players. He loves them. And even guys who've been kicked out of the program are like, I feel like I let Frank Martin down. I'm like, well, he kicked you out of the program. Yeah. I know, but Frank's still my guy. That's what you hear from the Rockfelders of the world and things like that. You don't hear that. I mean, I know that there's guys who played for Greg Marshall who are going to love him. That's just always going to be the case. But he did a lot of bad things, like really bad things that you cannot do. And so if we're going to talk about Frank Martin at times and who he is or how he acts or whatever it is, then and Jamie, we're not picking on you. I'm glad you asked the question and inspired a good conversation. Then Greg Marshall should never even sniff the basketball court, at least at South Carolina.
Well, I don't think that's why I was saying I don't think he'll sniff it again anywhere. I don't think Greg Marshall is, as at least today, untouchable of a coach as there is out there right now. It was a bad end with a paper trail of this is the end of a long culmination of stuff. And it's just somehow it took that long to come out. So, I mean, look, time heals. So maybe I'm wrong and maybe he's on the sideline again. I just don't see that as a head coach.
Yeah. It's, I don't know. It looks like Art Briles might end up being an offensive coordinator at Grambling. So I guess you never say never to things. I mean, look what Rick Pitino's doing. I mean, there's somebody in the world is always willing to give somebody a second chance. America is the ultimate place for second chances. We all know that. So I can't send myself down the road of never when it comes to Greg Marshall.
Yeah.
Because we have this ability to rehab our image, and the want to win in this country in sports is so high and large and wide that there are people who will absolutely take chances on people that you probably shouldn't take chances on people at times. So I don't know, but there is not a fiber in my soul that thinks he's going to come back to the state of South Carolina and be with the Gamecocks.
No.
Especially if Coach Tanner's there, who Coach Tanner, Coach Tanner does some digging on your character, and you better have it.
Yeah. And this is very public at this point. So it doesn't matter who the AD is. Greg Marshall's not going to be a coach at South Carolina.
No, he's not. I'm with you. I will go way down that road with you there. Absolutely. We'll go all the way to the finish line. No, he's not going to be there. But Frank Martin right now is the head coach at South Carolina. And yesterday he was asked, and Gene mentioned it in the bottom of the hour on our segment, Gene asked him, why is it so difficult to sustain success in Columbia? And he did give a lengthy answer. And, Frank, look, I know that there's a lot of people, and I've seen it on social media here and there, and I'm sure that somebody out there is going to accuse me of doing the same thing, which is making excuses for Frank Martin. But that's not at all what I'm doing. I'm saying exactly what I've said for a long time around here, Darren, and you'll know it when I say it. But Frank said it very similarly yesterday, and we've had a lot of quality people on our program and heard them elsewhere say the same things. The first couple of years of his tenure, do they count technically? Well, of course they count. Everything counts. But should it be considered as far as the future? No, it shouldn't be. That has nothing to do with it. What should be considered is what has happened since he had ample time to get the program heading in the right direction. And that first year he gets to the NIT. I think many of us out there believe that they should have been in the dance, and they won 25 games. But they weren't. They were in the NIT. And then the next year they go to the Final Four. And then most importantly for me, it's all right, well, you've been to the Final Four. Like, it's not like you just squeaked into the tournament. Yep. You got in as a 7 seed, and you ran to Arizona. You went right up there through Madison Square Garden. You headed to the desert. You had a shot played for the national championship. And so how do you capitalize on that? And that's where he should be graded. But Frank yesterday included the fact that COVID just demolished this program. He made mention of the fact that they were going into the SEC tournament in 2020. And now these are Frank's words. Hey, with a win, we're probably in the dance, because I think that would have put them at 19-13. I personally, I don't know that. Darren, I think they probably would have had to win one more. That's me saying that. I think their net at that point in time, or their RPI, was somewhere in the 60s, and I think they probably would have had to win a couple, because they lost the last game of the season against Vanderbilt. This was the year that COVID shut it all down in 2020. Yep. So had they not lost that game, they were a bubble team, and with a win, they were in. Yep. But they lost the game, so it kind of slipped them back. I think they were like the next 4 out or something like that, and they were probably going to need to win a couple games. So we don't know how that would have worked out. And then last year, I'll give him a lot of credit on that. Like, it needs to be considered in part of the conversation, but like, if you're giving it a percentage, I don't know how high you get of a percentage you give it in the grand scheme, right? So again, Frank kind of narrowed that conversation down to judging his tenure specifically to about 6 years. And I think that's fair. I do. I think it's fair. Now, at the end of the day, you can still grade the tenure on whether it was good enough or not of those 6 years. Like, should they be better this year? Should they have been worse? Are they heading in the right direction? Like, all those questions, as you've mentioned time and time again, and I'm so glad that you do it, because it's a great defense as a neutral observer, not a fan, but not a fan. You still got to play the season out. I mean, we still have to see what happens here. I mean, if they make a stretch run and they get into the SEC tournament and win a couple games, and maybe they only get into the NIT, but hey, they win a few more games, there's probably more to consider than we might have thought. If they tank it down the stretch and they can't get it done, I think we probably know where things are heading. So as you've pointed out, Darren, yeah, we can like Frank said yesterday, you want to narrow this thing down a little bit because there are some throwaways when it comes to the conversation, and I agree with that, or at least you minimize how much conversation is had about certain pieces of that puzzle. But at the end of the day, we still got to finish the season so you can complete the puzzle and then make a decision.
Yeah. So for that part, for the puzzle to be finished this year, we got to see how the rest of this year plays out. And we'll talk a lot more about tonight's game as we go on. He's right, but the problem is it's not that simple, right? Because when you are looking at the whole tenure and you're looking at sustaining success, you can make the case, and I agree with a lot of his case, that all right, we can toss this out for this reason, and we can toss this out for this reason, and we were knocking on the door here, and we were knocking on the door here. So based on all that, here's the sample size I want you to judge. I get that. And that's a very good lawyer way of going about it, to frame it in the best way, best light for you. The problem is when you're judging the tenure, it all does matter. And he's not the only coach to come in and inherit a disaster of a situation. And he's not the only coach who flounders around an NCAA tournament trip or bid and just barely gets clipped out. And then in the big picture, it's not enough NCAA tournament trips, and you can still pinpoint, well, but we were close here and there. So all of it is included, which is why the end here matters, which is why these last couple of games are going to matter, because this is going to tell you here just a better sense of where the program is. And I don't envy any of those coaches. I don't envy any of the players. I don't envy that position at all, because the players know it. They're not blind to the pressure. They're not blind to the talk and the whispers, and the coaches know it. So putting blinders on and saying, listen, man, let's just go finish out this year strong. It's harder than that. It's harder than just going out there and doing it. So that's another kind of wall they have to navigate around.
Yeah, I mean, and I know we got to go. Mark Kingston's coming up here, but I'll add this for the crowd that says, well, it's one tournament in 10 years. What if he had made 4 tournaments in 10 years, but they were all before 2017? Well, how would you judge it? Well, he's made 4 tournaments in 10 years. That's the best ever, right? Yeah, but he hasn't. See, that's my point, is like what happened back then should not carry as much weight as what is the trajectory of the program now. Like if he made a tournament every year through the Final Four run in 2017, would people be happy with what has happened the last 3 or 4 seasons since? And the answer is still no, because everybody thinks that they should have done better. And I agree with that since the Final Four run. But like the 1 in 10 crowd, you got to eliminate a lot of that from the conversation, because if he went to the dance every year through 2017, people would still be pissed that since the dance, they hadn't done anything.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Because then you're falling off a cliff.
Exactly.
Then it's not, oh my God, we never go. Then it's, we used to be on top of the mountain and now we're like swimming with fishes.
Yeah. See, that's what I'm saying. You got to judge it for when he finally got this thing on stable ground moving forward, as opposed to freaking 2013, 14. That stuff just it really doesn't matter as much. It doesn't carry as much weight as today does. All right. We got to go. You know why? Because we're flying or driving or whatever, walking to Columbia, South Carolina. When we return, Gamecock baseball coach Mark Kingston will be on the line right here on the JB and Goldwater Show.
This is Mike Mazzell for Stokes Volkswagen on Ashley Phosphate Road. You know what happens when you sell record numbers of new vehicles? That's right, we take in record numbers of local trades. Despite what the news is saying, quality pre-owned vehicles really aren't that hard to find. You just need to know where to look. Stokes Volkswagen on Ashley Phosphate and on the web at stokesvw.com. We've got over 1,200 pre-owned cars, trucks, SUVs, and all at a fraction of the price when new. Every vehicle has been inspected and reconditioned, many with the balance of factory warranty. Best of all, at Stokes Volkswagen, you don't need the perfect credit to get approved for a quality pre-owned vehicle. And we'll take any trade in any condition, even if you owe thousands more than it's worth. Don't forget, we'll buy your car even if you don't buy a car from us. You're going to love our pre-owned selection, I guarantee it. So come see us today at Stokes Volkswagen on Ashley Phosphate or stokesvw.com.
Peace and love at Stokes VW.
Negative trade equity financed a new loan, subject to lender approval.
People don't like to get stuck in traffic, stuck in the mud, stuck at work, and 2 others you probably don't think much about: Stuck with a big medical bill or stuck with a healthcare program that doesn't fit who you are? Experience true medical freedom with Share Healthcare. More affordable, more options, user-friendly, and biblically sound. You can join right now. Explore a new way to show you care with Share Healthcare. Join us today at sharehealthcare.com. sharehealthcare.com.
Wando Power Equipment, the trusted home of Hustler zero-turn residential and commercial mowers. There is nobody more trusted in South Carolina than our friends from Wando Power Equipment. They've been providing elite commercial and residential service for over 30 years. Landscape Services have turned to their selection of Hustler zero-turn mowers like the Raptor. Bigger, stronger, faster, and the most durable Raptor Hustler has ever designed. Located on Daniel Island and online at wandopower.com. Wando Power Equipment, owned by the Price family, the home of Hustler zero-turn mowers, rentals, service, and specializing in family and friendship.
You hear me talk about Dog and Duck all the time, and there's no other place I'm going to watch my college and NFL than the Dog and Duck. They have 3 locations, Bell Hall, Park West, and Clements Ferry Road. They have specials all football season long, like $12 pitchers of their own D2 brew, $5 pints of Sierra Nevada, weekly pick'em sheets with prizes, and the best wings in town, bar none. For all your football, college, and NFL, the Dog and Duck, Clements Ferry Road, Bell Hall, and Park West.
Motley Rice LLC is a law firm with international reach, but it hasn't lost its Carolina roots. The Motley Rice team fights every day for people harmed by products including asbestos and talc exposure, medical drugs and devices, and also catastrophic injuries and auto recalls, including dangerous Takata airbags. Motley Rice is headquartered in Mount Pleasant at 28 Bridgeside Boulevard. Visit motleyrice.com. Thank you, Motley Rice, for supporting the JB and Goldwater Show and the Big Gamecock Preview Show.
What's up, everybody? This is South Carolina singer-songwriter Patrick Davis, and I might live in Nashville, Tennessee now, but guess what? I can always keep up with the news back in South Carolina because I've got the JB and Goldwater Show. Thank you, JB and Darren, for being live, loud, and online.
Well, you're welcome, Mr. World Traveler Patrick Davis, who's just getting back from the Bahamas. We'll see him soon. He's coming down for the spring game, and he'll be playing before that. Who knows? Maybe he'll catch some Gamecock baseball while he's in town that weekend because they'll welcome the Ole Miss Rebels to Founders Park. But that's a long ways away. They're about to crank up the season on Friday, and this gentleman is doing media appearance after media appearance after media appearance, and he's been kind enough to squeeze us into that busy schedule. It's the head coach of Gamecock baseball, Coach Mark Kingston. What's up, man?
How you guys doing?
Well, we're ready to see your boys play ball. How are you?
I'm ready to see them play ball too. We've inter-squadded ourselves to death now, so we're ready to actually play somebody else and see what it looks like.
I know. Doesn't that it almost get old? You're like, I mean, what, like if you're a player, you're playing against the same guys all fall, all spring. They've got to be chomping at the bit to actually see somebody else.
Yeah, they are. I think it goes in all sports, whether it's basketball team, playing open gym against each other, or football team, and you've got your ones versus ones or ones versus twos. That the linemen get sick of each other at some point. So I think our pitchers know our hitters know our pitchers. I think they're ready to just go out there and compete with something on the line. Practices are intense, but you get to the point where just human nature, guys are ready to actually go out there with a crowd, with the scoreboard on, with scouts in the stands, with something on the line, trying to get a big hit to win a game, make a big pitch to hear the crowd. I think all those things, guys are ready for those now. Practice. We've been practicing since August. We're ready to actually play some games.
All right. Well, before you play games, you've turned into quite the party animal. So you have the annual Super Bowl party at your house. Did you or Beamer? Did one of y'all have a Super Bowl party? Weren't y'all together for the Super Bowl?
Well, you're mixing a couple episodes together here. The National Football Championship, the Kingstons were over at the Beamer's house to watch that, the college football championship. So we had a good night there. And then for the Super Bowl, I had my wife and our family had the entire team over, along with managers, trainers, strength coach and family, coaches' families, basically as many people as we could squeeze into my house that are part of our program. just a family outing, you know, with the entire team for the Super Bowl. So college championship was at Beamer's house, and then the Super Bowl was at my house with our team, just continuing to try to build that good, you know, that good culture, family environment type stuff that we really want to have here.
All right, we'll get to baseball here, but when Beamer is hosting a college football national championship parties, there's a whole bunch of people. It's a college football national championship game. He's a head coach of South Carolina. What's he doing? Is he sitting down? Is he talking to people? Is he mingling, or is he just like lasered in?
Well, it was just our family.
Oh,
so
okay.
It's not like it was a big party. It was just our two families together. We've become pretty close, you know. So it was just us. So it was pretty low key, but it was great dialogue. I would be picking his brain, and he was picking my brain, and we were talking about, you know, our respective teams, but we were also talking strategy going on in the football game, and I would ask him, how do you make this decision on fourth down when you're in plus territory, and what's going through your head? And he talked about the different things that are in his ear during that game in terms of people that are talking to him. So just really cool. We're two guys that love sports. We're two guys that love the strategy, and we've always kind of grown up studying sports. And so it's good to kind of cross over, and he likes to hear my perspective as a baseball guy, and I like to hear his perspective as a football guy. So just a good night of talking sports and talking coaching.
Nice. So who throws the better party, the Kingstons or the Beamers?
Well, mine was better attended, so if you go by that, I would say it's a draw. I would say it's a high score. We'll go to overtime on that.
Hey, we just need to ask Coach Tanner if we can create the ultimate marketing ploy. You coach a football game, Shane coaches a baseball game. Let's see who wins. Or better yet, why don't you just put a headset on in games? You and Kaye and Wingo and Justin Parker, y'all just all have headsets on. Just communicate that way.
I think that'd be really cool. I think we'd get a quicker baseball game if we could have a headset on with our pitcher and our catcher.
Yeah,
you'd have a 2-hour game if you could just send the signals into the pitcher and the catcher at the same time, put an AirPod in their ears.
Yeah.
Hey, fastball, and then there's none of that signs down, come set. You'd have a lot more action, a lot quicker amount of time. I think people would like that. So
yeah,
great idea. I'm going to send that up the poll there.
And when you have to choose somebody out, nobody can hear your potty mouth. It's even better.
Correct.
It's
correct.
It just stays right in the ears. All right, man. We'll get you to baseball now because that's what we brought you on here to talk about. Give us a quick update if you can on Julian Bosnick. What's the diagnosis? What's the prognosis?
He will not pitch this weekend. He has a very minor flexor strain. He's already mostly through the rest period that he needs to go through. It was a 2-week rest period. This will be after this following week. He'll be to that 2-week period. He'll start throwing again, and then just a matter of when he feels strong and comfortable and ready to go back out there. So we're just going to err on the side of conservative with him right now for a lot of obvious reasons. So Seitler will pitch this weekend in a starting role in his place, and we'll just kind of take it from there, and other guys will have to step up.
So it'll be Sanders, Seitler. Do you have a third starter yet?
James Hicks will be your third starter, just a matter of the order. Most likely you'll see Sanders, Hicks, and Seitler on Sunday.
Okay. So
unless something crazy happens. These days, I can tell you guys, we don't put anything in stone because with COVID, you just never know. Our guys are getting tested tomorrow, so we can have all the best plans, and then if you hear about 1 or 2 guys now that can't play because of COVID, and now it changes everything. So as of right now, the plans would be Sanders, Hicks, and Seitler.
And one day you're going to tell your grandkids about managing through COVID. What a time in the world. Mark Kingston, head coach at South Carolina. So do you have I know you said it, you're just going to take it slow and let him get back out there, but Bosnick is going to be incredibly valuable to your program this year, as we all know. Do you have a date that you've kind of circled? Is it, the start of SEC play or something like that where, hey, look, we just got to get him back by this time. Anything before it is gravy, but we need him back by this date if we can get him there. Have you kind of circled one of those?
No, not yet.
Okay.
No, not yet.
All right.
No, we're gonna adhere to what the doctors and our athletic trainers say. So we won't bring him back too early, but we also won't hold him out too long either, unnecessarily long. So we'll follow the guidance of the professionals and we'll take it from there.
All right. Can't wait to see him get back on the mound. All right. So outside of those guys, you've got a talented staff. This is South Carolina baseball. There's always going to be arms. But it from what I understand, Coach, and you correct me where I'm wrong here, from a bullpen standpoint, not a ton of defined roles, at least yet. And from an experience standpoint, with a lot of the dudes that have left for pro baseball after last season and stuff like that, maybe not a ton of that either. So as the head coach, what do you worry about, and how do you kind of manage that as you begin the year?
Well, we're looking to see who's going to step up. We have guys that are capable. We have guys that are talented. For us, it's just a matter of who will get it done when the lights are on. Through scrimmages, we've seen plenty of guys that can get it done. Now it's just a matter of who will get it done when the lights are on, when the crowd's in the stands, when there's another team in the dugout, who can manage the running game, who can field a bunt if necessary. All those things you see in practice, but you don't really see until it really means something in a box score. So for me, it's just a matter of figuring out who will be this year's Andrew Peters, because a year ago at this time, nobody thought Andrew Peters would have such a great role and do so well. And there's a lot of guys. Danny Lloyd's another example of a guy that went into last season, kind of on the bubble. What's his role going to be? How good is he going to be? And he ended the season as a very, very good pitcher for us and a pro prospect. So we've got guys I think that'll step up and be similar stories this year. It's just a matter of which of these guys will be that story. So we've got capable guys. Now we're going to give them opportunities, and we're going to see who runs with it.
I remember back when they made the run to the national championships, nobody saw John Taylor coming out of the woodworks, but when he came out, all of a sudden it was game over as he led into to Matt Price. All right, so
Michael Roth, we were looking up stats today. Michael Roth only threw 40 innings the year they won their first national championship, and most of them were in the postseason. So you just never know. You never know who's got that little it factor that when the lights go on, they're just different and they're better, and who can you trust? So we'll be looking to see who can we trust coming out of that bullpen.
Hey, look, man, if you find a Michael Roth in your bullpen somewhere, congratulations. You're going to win the national championship. This is fantastic.
Well, I'll give a lot of NIL money for that if we can find it.
That's right. All right, so what about Burgess? Colin Burgess returns behind the plate. How does he – everything we've talked about with the staff here, how does he factor in? He's a veteran, but he's a guy that you can trust. So what do you have to say about your catcher?
Yeah, no, he's playing really well right now. He's throwing as well as he ever has. He's blocking well. He's receiving. I mean, he's a better defender than he's ever been, and that's saying something because he's always been very reliable back there. I think his hitting will take another step this year. So he's a guy that our pitching staff really likes throwing to. But also Talmadge Lee Croy will probably be our number 2 catcher, and he's playing really well in scrimmages too. So throwing well. Has a couple homers this spring, and is really developing by the day. He's a middle infielder by trade in high school, but he's a guy that can really catch back there. A lot of pro catchers are former infielders, and I think Lee Croy can be one of those kind of guys, a former infielder that becomes a catcher and is really good back there. So he'll be a guy that shares time with Burgess, and you may also see Lee Croy on the infield some too. He's probably a backup at third, short, and second. So I would say Burgess is going into the season as the 1, but Lee Croy is also right there with him.
Is he related to Matt Lee Croy, who played in the big leagues?
There's some relation within the Lee Croy family in South Carolina, correct.
Oh, all right. Yeah, a lot of big leaguers around.
You guys can do your research on that.
Okay, I'll do that. I'll do it. All right, so take us around the rest of the diamond, Coach. I mean, I know, I get it. You're going to shuffle it up. It's early in the year. You're just starting this thing up. But if you had to write it in today for Friday, what would it look like?
We just talked about the catchers, so I'll go to first base. First base, you're probably looking at Josiah Seitler, who's really made nice progress as a player in all facets. Second base, you're looking at Braylon Wimmer again. Shortstop, you'll probably see Michael Braswell, a very, very highly recruited freshman shortstop out of Georgia, who has a chance to be a really, really good player here. Third base, you're probably looking at Kevin Madden, transfer from Virginia Tech, lifetime 300 hitter, is a really, really good defender over there, has a cannon for an arm. So our fans will enjoy watching that. The outfield, you're looking at Brent Belk, probably in left field, transfer from Missouri, another guy, lifetime 300 hitter. Right field will be Andrew Eister again, who our fans know very well. Center field is a little bit up for grabs. You can see Matt Hogan, the Vanderbilt transfer. You can see Elijah Lambros, a freshman out of Virginia. You could see Stone, a local product, who's probably our best defender out in center field. So I would say the DH spot and the center field spot are the two spots where there's still a lot of competition. And we'll try some different guys with different looks based on who we're playing, the pitchers, et cetera. So that's kind of a little bit of an overview. Obviously, things change, and if you see different names out there, there's a good chance it could be injury related or COVID related. But those are the guys that have kind of set themselves apart right now as the guys we're going to look at.
Final couple of minutes with Mark Kingston, head coach at South Carolina. Eister, Wimmer, Seitler, throw Burgess in there, but you do have a nucleus of guys back in the program who've been around here a while, but you've also got some veterans, as you mentioned, some transfers like Hogan and Belk and Madden coming from successful programs, to say the least, and who've been very successful themselves. They're older guys as well. So, but when you look at that nucleus of dudes who've been in it with you been in the fire for the last couple of years, what do you see? What are you expecting from that group? And they're interchangeable. You can move a lot of those guys all over the place. That's neat.
Yeah, I just want to see continued development. That's what you want to see every year. You want to see guys get better every year. And from what we've seen so far, Wimmer has gotten better, and Seitler is better. And Eister, Eister kind of is an old soul. He kind of is what he is. The minute he stepped on campus, he was a 300 hitter, and he's been a really good hitter for us. And so just want to continue to see consistency out of him. Want to see Burgess take the next step with his offense, because his catching is as good as anybody in the league. So, yeah, absolutely. I just want to see continued development out of those guys, because as old guys go out, the new guys, you're better the following year, you hope, because your returning players get better. You added new players, and these days in 2022 and forward, there's going to be a lot of ways that you see teams supplementing their talent, whether it's the transfer portal, whether it's junior college, whether it's your high school recruits. There's a million ways to try to add talent to your team. And so you just hope that the guys that stay in your program long-term are the guys that are really getting better every single year.
Can you add real quick as to what is it about the Braswell kid at shortstop that has you so excited about his future?
Yeah, I mean, he's long and lean. He has elite hands. The ball, when the ball's in his glove, it sticks, it stays there very clean. He's got a strong, accurate arm that he can throw from multiple angles. Range-wise, I would say it's average range right now, but it will continue to get better as he gets stronger. But he's just a guy with a chip on his shoulder. He's a guy that's very high confidence. He's not going to shy away. A lot of times you think, man, can a freshman handle it? But he's a kid that is not going to back down from anything. And he was very highly recruited. He could have gone anywhere in the country. He was a perfect game, the national game they play out in San Diego, the All-American game. He was a part of that. So just a kid that you come in and you hope that he's one of the cornerstones of the program.
Yeah. There've been a lot of those.
By the way, he also, just so you know, he's also a top arm out of the bullpen. He's been up to 94 out of the bullpen, and will be a factor as a pitcher as well.
So could he pitch? So could you just not play anybody at short and you just bring him into close, and then after he throws the pitch, just run over to short and field it and throw it across the diamond?
No, I prefer that if we were going to not play anybody at short, that he just strikes guys out. So
okay.
that will have to be what we do. Yeah, that'd be a heck of a shift if we did that.
Hey, there's been a lot of great freshmen to start at South Carolina at shortstop, Reese Havens and Drew Meyer and so many. I hope this kid is as good as all of them. Scott Wingo could probably tell you about a lot of those guys. He knows everybody, as you have figured out.
No doubt. And it's been great having Scott, kind of be a mentor to these young players too. Scott Wingo is very popular here. We all know that, and he's done a nice job being a mentor and rubbing off on these players as well.
All right, final one offensively for you, Coach. Before we let you run here, where do you hope to see the most improvement? I know you were frustrated at times last year with certain things, game to game, that it just seemed so often it was You're about to break through here and there, and then it just, oh man, fall a little bit short. What do you want to see from an improvement standpoint so you can put some runs on the board and go out there and win a bunch of games?
That's a really good question. People ask me all the time, I think sometimes people think you want to be one-dimensional and you want to just rely on the homer and you want to have a lot of strikeouts. That's just because that's what your team may be in any given year. What we're trying to have is balance. And when I say balance, I mean between left-handed and right-handed. You want a good balanced lineup. You want to have a balance between power and speed. And you want to have guys that can give you really good at-bats in tight situations and that are very tough to strike out. And so in 2001, I was part of a national championship team in Miami. And I look back at that lineup, and we had 3 elite power guys, we had 3 speed guys, and we had 3 line drive hitters. And we had a balance in our lineup between left and right. And so that's what we're shooting for every year. You want to have that balance so that some days your power wins the game for you. Some days the speed wins the game. Sometimes it's just you nickel and dime the other team with a bunch of line drive hits all over the park and some steals and occasionally a hit and run and get a bunt down. And we just want to have a balanced lineup. And however we're performing, the goal is always to have that type of balance. And you build that through recruiting, through development, all those things. And sometimes the chips fall where you have all those things you want. Sometimes they don't. But that's always what we're pursuing.
Certainly looking forward to seeing that. It starts on Friday at 4. A very good UNC Greensboro team will be coming to Founders Park this weekend for a 3-game set. And then it's Winthrop, George Washington, and App State before the annual 3-game series against the Tigers of Clemson, Xavier, and followed by number 1 Texas coming to Founders Park in that return series from when y'all took the trip to Austin last year. Coach King, as we tell you all the time, we really appreciate your time. It means a lot to us. I know that you've got media stuff all week and you just want to go out and coach baseball. And so thank you so much for clearing your schedule, and really look forward to getting up there very, very soon to see you and your team play at Founders Park.
No, you got it, guys. I appreciate, everything you guys put into it for the fans. And so we appreciate everything you do and happy to be on with you. You obviously are very much invested in us and do your homework. So always a pleasure to be on with you.
Oh, hey, I have a quick request. I forgot. You've seen The Blind Side, right? You know, the little kid that negotiates for his brother?
Of course.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, I'm playing little kid here. So Tony Skull has offered to, my little girls have never been to a college baseball game. So he's offered them to come in the dugout and run the bases. Coach Holbrook has offered them some lollipops to come down on the field and hang out in the dugout and get autographs. What are you offering?
I'm offering Gamecock baseball all access.
Oh,
that should be enough. That's not enough for your girls, and they don't love baseball enough.
Okay. All right.
We're strong. It doesn't get much stronger than that.
I was hoping that would be the answer. I don't know what all access means for guys like me. It might just be a quick view of the renovated bathroom, but we'll take it, Coach. We're coming.
All right. Well, you'll just have to take a leap of faith, and hopefully we'll come through for you.
Absolutely. Honestly, we will be up there in the next few weekends to watch a game, and I'll send you a text when we're coming. I'd love to get down and see you and say hello. Thank you.
You got it.
You're the man. Thanks, Coach. There you go. Mark Kingston, head baseball coach of the South Carolina Gamecocks. I didn't ask Monty the other day, and I forgot that was on the agenda to ask him what would he offer, because the kids are a bargaining chip now.
Well, I mean, that was a power play on your part, because it wasn't just, hey, I'm asking for something. It was, oh, I'm asking for something, and here's what I already have in the bag. So how are you going to top this? It wasn't just, can we have some access? It was, these guys were doing this. What can you do? It's a powerful play.
I totally set him up. I'm sure if Reichert is listening to that, he's going to kill me for it. As opposed to just getting my media credentials and going in and, I'm going to bargain my kids to get them on the field. So, yeah, smooth move. That'll be the last time. I hope you enjoyed it. That'll be the last time we hear from Mark Kingston on the JB and Goldwater show. Ever after that. Good stuff, though. I mean, honestly, in doing our own research, we talked to John Whittle around here a lot, and I've talked to Wingo. By the way, quick programming note for everybody. Starting this coming Monday and throughout every Monday of the Gamecock baseball season at 1:05, we'll be joined by Scott Wingo on our program. So Scott will come on much like Skylar Meade has done for the last couple of years here with us, and he'll talk about the weekend and stuff like that. And so certainly looking forward to getting Scotty Squirrel into he's an elite baseball mind. Anybody that's ever met Scott or anything like that, and he's a great guy and great friend, and so that'll be a lot of fun. But just in doing the research about this program and how successful they can be, they have a chance. My prediction kind of, Darren, is that Carolina will it's going to take some time early in the year, and I hope that fans will understand this, for players to figure out their roles. And for this staff, it's a new staff, talented staff. It's a staff that's been around a lot of baseball, like Coach King and Chad Kaye and Justin Parker and Scotty. But they're gonna need some time to figure out where certain guys fit from game to game. And he's already mentioned, Seitler's going to start on the mound this weekend. Seitler can also play left field, and he can also play first base. Braylon Wimmer can play the infield. Braylon Wimmer can play the outfield. And then, you got to define roles in the bullpen and things. Like, there's going to be a lot of where a guy's going to fit in the lineup. You might have a guy at the start of the year hitting towards the bottom of the order, and then by the middle of the season, he's moved his way towards the top. I remember when Wingo was hitting about 186 in his freshman season, but he was in there every game because his on-base percentage was about 900 because he got walked and hit by every other pitch that was thrown. So things are going to happen, and they're going to get things figured out. And so it's probably going to take a little bit of time. They might scuffle here and there. They might drop a game you're not expecting them to drop. But as time goes on, they'll start to define some roles, and they'll probably start to do good things. At the end of the day, I'll say this, and I know we got to run to break, but at the end of the day, I'll say this. It's South Carolina and at Clemson. And the expectations in Columbia are higher than those in the upstate. For those that don't like me saying that, it's true. When you win national championships, your expectations skyrocket, sometimes even unreasonably. But this is, without a doubt, and Monty would tell you this and Mark would tell you this, 40 games is always going to be the number. Mm-hmm. And yeah, you're going to have challenges, and maybe those guys will never come out publicly and say things like, well, we didn't succeed because we only won 35 games in the regular season. That might be a success based on what they had or whatever on the roster. And both leagues they're unbelievable. The ACC and the SEC are unbelievable. But the expectation will always be to win 40 games. It'll always be to be in the postseason. It will literally always be to host a regional. That's it. That's going to be the expectation. Sometimes you're going to meet it. Sometimes you're not. But you should more than not.
Yeah, it's the bar that's been set. We say this every year, and then I feel like we echo it after every conversation with the baseball coaches in this state. It's a bunch of good dudes, man. It was a good chat right there with Kingston. You did a great job with it, and he was open, honest. Here it is, right? I'm going to lay out my lineup for you. I'm honest with you about Bosnick. Here's what I'm thinking about the rotation. Obviously, in today's day and age, anything can change between now and 2 days or 3 days from now on Friday, but nice and transparent, and similar to Holbrook talking about Daniel Brooks, his freshman. Yeah. Kingston was talking about Braswell. There was that kind of that twinge in his voice. It was that go watch this kid play. So that's intriguing to me.
Absolutely. I love college baseball, and I love it in this state. I just absolutely adore it in this state because of the people that are in it, and really happy for all of them. Can't wait. Cannot wait. Tony Skoll will join us tomorrow to preview the Citadel as well. I think it's tomorrow. I'll have to double check. It's either tomorrow or Thursday. But we do have Shane Beamer coming up at the top of the program on Thursday. Mm-hmm. So, we got to figure out this schedule around here. But we'll get it figured out. We got plenty of time. All right. We got to go to break. I know that. Thank you, Mark Kingston, for joining us there. Gamecock Baseball starts at 4 o'clock on Friday here in 2022. Keith Allsep starts at about 1:30 this afternoon on our show. Coming up, we'll dive into some college football right here on the JB and Goldwater Show. Right here in our backyard is Motley Rice LLC. a law firm that hasn't lost its Carolina roots. The Motley Rice team fights every day for South Carolinians who were injured while traveling by plane or bus, harmed by medical drugs and devices, or burdened by dangerous auto recalls, including Takata airbags. Motley Rice is headquartered in Mount Pleasant at 28 Bridgeside Boulevard. We are honored to have Motley Rice as a sponsor for the JB and Goldwater Show and the Big Gamecock Preview Show.
At Patriots Point Naval and Maritime Museum, families walk in the footsteps of our nation's heroes, the brave ones who risked their lives to defend our way of life. Home to the aircraft carrier USS Yorktown, USS Laffey, and the USS Clamagore, there's more than 1 million square feet of exhibit space to roam. White Glove certified, we have several new health safety measures in place to enhance the visitor experience. Come for the day and leave feeling inspired. One of the most impressive museums in the country, located right here in Mount Pleasant. Visit patriotspoint.org for more. We'll see you soon.
People don't like to get stuck in traffic, stuck in the mud, stuck at work, and two others you probably don't think much about, stuck with a big medical bill or stuck with a healthcare program that doesn't fit who you are. Experience true medical freedom with Share Healthcare. More affordable, more options, user-friendly, and biblically sound. You can join right now. Explore a new way to show you care with Share Healthcare. Join us today at sharehealthcare.com. sharehealthcare.com.
This is Scott Glaze, head golf professional at the Links at Stono Ferry, located on the outskirts of Charleston, South Carolina. I'm inviting you to tee it up on one of the most scenic and challenging courses in the Lowcountry. Our back nine is highlighted with 3 holes that border the Intercoastal Waterway. Visit stonoferrygolf.com to book tee times and discover all that Stono Ferry has to offer. The Links at Stono Ferry is a former South Carolina Golf Course of the Year and is also home to the College of Charleston men's and women's golf teams. Come see us. We would love to have you. stonoferrygolf.com.
Family vacations, a new car, a new boat, all cost money, but you don't necessarily have to make more to afford any of that if you can save cash that's flying out the window now. iHelp Consulting can help you finally get the kids to Disney World, upgrade the minivan, or drop that new boat in the water next summer. Let Daniel and iHelp Consulting consult with you. No fees, just savings. You pay them a percentage of those savings. Save on essential services, credit card fees, you name it. Let them find it. These folks are incredible. iHelpConsulting.com. How can I help you?
Hi, I'm Chris Half, Public Information Officer at the Patriots Point Naval and Maritime Museum. We're home of the mighty USS Yorktown, USS Laffey, Clamagore, and Vietnam experience. And we're a proud partner of the JB and Goldwater Show. We invite you and your family to come see us and enjoy a day on Charleston Harbor. Visit patriotspoint.org for more information. And now, it is my honor to present the national anthem.
Live, loud, and online.
All right, final hour on this, I don't know, what Tuesday afternoon, February the 15th. Lose my mind, Darren. Here on the JB and Goldwater Show, very proudly presented by Motley Rice. Causes not just cases, motleyrice.com. As we mentioned, Keith Allsep coming up here in just a little bit. I did not get to this earlier and absolutely am going to get to this now. Congratulations to the one and only and beyond fantastic human being that she is, Debbie Antonelli, on being elected to the 2022 Women's Basketball Hall of Fame. Unbelievable achievement for Debbie. As she was an outstanding player, clearly at NC State. She has been broadcasting, I think, or broadcasting for about 34 years. She's spent time in administrations like at Ohio State. Now, in addition, as we all know, to basketball, her off-court focus is raising money for the Special Olympics in our state through her 24 hours of nothing but net shooting marathon that she does every May. Darren and I have been a part of it the last couple of years, and it's really neat to do with her. She's raised almost $500,000 in 3 years of doing this. It's just outstanding. By making 100 free throws an hour at about a 93 or 4% clip overall the last 3 years, which that doesn't make any sense either. But as important as all of that, Darren has known Debbie for a long time. I've known Debbie for a long time. She is one of the finer humans on earth, and she's a Hall of Famer now. That is so cool. So if you're on social media, send her a very special congratulations. If you ever happen to meet her somewhere or something like that, give her a high five. She deserves it. She's the best. We'll look forward to getting her on very soon, and she'll call tonight's game, Darren, on is it on the ACC network or ESPN? ESPN. ESPN.
Does she have the Clemson game again?
No, she has Wake and Duke in Cameron.
That's an ESPN. Clemson's on one of the Bally's, so it's whatever Fox Sports South used to be, Bally Sports, that we don't get on YouTube TV. But Tom Wormy has that one. I know that. That's where Clemson is tonight. But congratulations to Debbie. I mean, I think there are a lot of people. There are a lot of people she's worked with. There's a lot of people she's known and helped and supported that would have told you for years that in their book she's a Hall of Famer, and now it's official. Like she's actually going to be a Hall of Famer.
She is the best. So cool, man. So proud of her.
And it's I mean, obviously she had a great playing career, but she is technically in as a contributor to the game. So a lot of people know Debbie for her appearances, what she does for a living, and not so much how she played the game and supporting the women's game and the growth of the women's game, which is blown up. There's a lot of I guess there's a lot of praise to go around, and it's deserved that she is one of those to get some credit for the explosion of this game.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree. She has she paints it in such a perfect light. Both and it's not just women's basketball. I mean, it's both men's and women's basketball. I mean, she's unbelievable what she does. She's been calling the tournament for 3 or 4 years, Darren. I want to say she's working on her 5th year, maybe coming up. I might be a year off on that, but her and Carter Blackburn, I think, have been the tandem on CBS, if I'm correct there.
That's what it has been. If she has them this year, it'll be a different partner. But we're not going to go down that road. But it's been a couple of years for Debbie working the tournament. And Saturday she did 2 games. She did the Clemson women's game and then hung around to the Clemson men.
Yeah, unbelievable. Becky Hammond, Delisha Milton-Jones, Penny Taylor, DePaul coach Doug Bruno, former coaches Paul Sanderford and Bob Schneider, and Alice Cookie Barron will join Debbie in the 23rd Women's Basketball Hall of Fame class. 23rd. That's it. They started in 1999. So outstanding. Congratulations to our dear friend, Debbie Antonelli. Share Healthcare chat lines. They are open. Comment, and we will discuss your comments on the air. And before we get to football, I see Adam's got a comment here, and it's a good question. And I'd like to bring that into our conversation. It's about Tim Corbin and how successful he's been at Vanderbilt. He said, Adam asked, quote, "I just want to know how Corbin is getting all these big league sons on his team. I'm not suggesting anything dirty, but it's crazy with the amount of sons of big leaguers that he is getting." Well, hey, and it's also college head coaches' sons, because Cooper Holbrook is going to be playing up there next year as well. The son of Chad Holbrook. Chad's other son, Reese, is now in Chapel Hill playing for his alma mater. So he's got some kids going to some outstanding institutions. So Vanderbilt is a little bit of an interesting story, but let's just start with the story that takes place on the field. they're really good, and they're really well coached, and they now have built an outstanding tradition under Tim Corbin because of the success that they have had. So success naturally is just going to draw players, and so that is clearly one side of it. You know, the national championships, postseason appearances, the number of big leaguers that they produce. It's a factory, obviously. The
it's
SEC,
a pipeline. It's like an Alabama of college baseball. So
yeah,
but you'll get to B. If you want to give yourself the best chance for future success and you're in position to go play there, they're going to be on your list.
Oh, absolutely. If you're a player, I mean, you're probably considering Vanderbilt. I mean, if you're elite. And a quick backstory to that too, and it's not as much true anymore because Vanderbilt can recruit nationally at the highest level, just like the best teams in the sport. But there was a time where Tim Corbin, and this wasn't exclusive now, don't misunderstand what I'm saying here, but Tim Corbin came up in the Jack Leggett coaching tree at Clemson. Jack had some outstanding coaches that came through his program. And one of the things that they learned to do was recruit the Northeast. So you'd ask, well, okay, but why? Why would you do that? All right. So South Carolina really locked down this state. Clemson got players from the state of South Carolina. I mean, I can go back, Chris Fidrick, Matt Vaughn. I mean, look, Jeffrey Gilbert's up there right now. I mean, they've and we can name a ton more players, but Clemson's always signed players from the state of South Carolina. Don't misunderstand me. The Gamecocks, though, Coach Tanner had really put a border up here, and he was really reeling a lot of the top names in, and a lot of that really started with Drew Meyer when Drew committed back in I think it was late '98 or somewhere in there. But Leggett would go up to a part of the country, and Darren, you've clearly spent enough time in the Northeast to understand this, and he would go up and find elite players who just wanted to come down south and play baseball. You know, they didn't want to stay up there and play in the cold. You can't practice sometimes. If you do practice, you're only practicing indoors, or when you get to the quote-unquote spring, which is mid to late January and into early February, you're hitting a lot. That's why traditionally a lot of Northeastern teams, they can really swing the sticks because that's all they can do for a couple of weeks leading into the year is just hit. So they would go up there and they'd find these power arms who were, you know, touching the low to mid 90s. Back then they weren't as plentiful. And they would recruit these guys to come down and play here, where a lot of teams in the South, certainly out west, Midwest, Oklahoma, Texas, you know, they weren't venturing up there, didn't need to. And so that's what they started. They created these pipelines. Well, I mean, Tim Corbin was recruiting for Jack Leggett, so clearly he had made relationships. I mean, Kevin O'Sullivan. I mean, there's a lot of guys who began to really understand the Northeast and where you can find players and say, look, we can bring you down here. You're going to play in better weather. You're going to play in better leagues. And you're going to have a chance to be really, really good. So they would establish these pipelines, and Corbin did that when he got to Vanderbilt. You can go back and look at his rosters. You'll see a lot of New Yorks and Pennsylvanias and things of that nature, and they'll bring these kids down, and you get them there, and you got work to do. Yeah, you've got to develop, but they did, and they created these monsters, and so that was one side. The other side is, I think somebody said it already. Where is it? Yeah, it's called endowments, and they produce wins. That's the other side. Vanderbilt's a private institution, and they have additional cash that they can tap into that essentially give away a bunch of full scholarships. Whereas college baseball, you know, publicly speaking, at least, you have 11.7 to deal with, and it sucks. It's the stupidest rule in the NCAA. You know, for whatever reason, and there are a lot of idiots in Indianapolis. They still just refuse to address this. And college baseball has grown, like, substantially. And nobody can look me or you or anybody else. Darren, you're a huge fan of college baseball, and I understand that. That's why I love having these conversations with you, because we can defend it wholeheartedly, because we've seen it up close and personal for the better part of our lives. Nobody can look me in the eye with a straight face and say, well, it hasn't grown enough, or it's not a revenue producing sport. That's a bunch of crap. Is it a revenue producing sport on the level of men's basketball or football? No. Is there anything else that's a revenue producing sport on that level either? No.
No,
And here's my
basketball's not on the football level. Like, it's not even close.
It's not even close. And on top of all of that, go to your nearest college baseball stadium and tell me how much money is being invested in it. Look in the SEC. Look in the ACC. Look in the Big 12. They're getting into it at the Pac-12. They figured it out. Oh, we better start putting some cash into these ballparks. The Big 10 has done it. I mean, look at what the College of Charleston's about to do. Has anybody seen those plans? I mean, this is happening everywhere. East Carolina, it's happening everywhere. College baseball is a product that you can sell. You get a lot of games, 28, 30, 35 games a year in your ballpark or more sometimes. And you can market it because you can put a lot of different things in these ballparks, different things to do, bring kids, all this crap that they come up with. They can do that. They can make it a family atmosphere. So there is a bright future for this sport, and leaders of the NCAA continue to let it down year in and year out. It's a shame.
You'd think, hopefully, with NIL, there will be some padding there, right? Hopefully baseball teams are going to be able to, and individuals are going to be able to capitalize on some NIL dollars by promoting exactly what you just laid out, right? To say, oh, college baseball kid's going to have NIL money, like in the realm of somebody else. Some could, the superstars, but the others, the promotion has to come from a lot of folks in and around the game, like you just laid out, and how the game is growing, how the game's popularity is growing, the money is coming in. And throw on top of that, the game is in a better spot than it's ever been.
Oh, yeah.
Because college baseball is getting more kids going to college and going that route, as opposed to saying, you know what, I'm going to go twiddle my thumbs in the minors for however many years as a first, second, third round draft pick. More guys, we're seeing it every year. We have the conversation every year. More guys are opting for college and saying, you know what, I can develop. And by the way, this is another reason Vanderbilt gets players. If my purpose of playing college baseball is to develop and eventually become a pro, where's my best pipeline? There are lots of answers to that, lots of good answers to that. Vanderbilt at the moment is probably the best answer to that. So that's another reason why funneling towards Vanderbilt happens.
Yeah, absolutely. And to your point, I mean, you can make, this isn't even an argument. I'm not even making this as an argument. This is literally coming out of the mouths of players who have done it. And I'm talking about guys who've played in the SEC, guys who've played in the ACC, and those leagues specifically, because no offense to the SoCon, even though it's a great league, and the CAA and stuff like that, those are all great leagues. But when you play in the ACC or when you play in the SEC, when you're playing in the Big 12, some of what you're seeing in the Pac-12, the Pac-12 has kind of really brought itself back. The Big Ten has done an outstanding job with kind of rejuvenating the sport of baseball. Michigan, Michigan State, Ohio State. I mean, these teams have done a really nice job. But speaking of our neck of the woods, the ACC and the SEC, guys who I know who played at Clemson, at South Carolina, at Mississippi State, or wherever, they'll sit there and flat out tell you, this league is what you see in AA baseball. Period. The end. It's AA. It's not low A. It's not high A. There are teams that literally they see in the SEC and the ACC in their times that when they would play the River Dogs, or no offense, but when they would play the River Dogs or the Pelicans or these teams in minor league baseball, they beat the crap out of them. I mean, in a 5-game series, they're going to win 3. Like that. That's literally a lot of what they're seeing, because a lot of these guys, as you mentioned, Darren, they're coming to school. They're getting drafted after their 3rd year, and guess where they're literally starting? AA or high A baseball. I mean,
and then they can rock it through the minors. Once you've progressed the right way in college, you're seeing this year after year now. The trajectory through the minor leagues is much, much faster. If that's where you're eventually going to be, I mean, you guys are flying through. We're seeing pitchers up in a year or less.
A year, yeah. It's amazing. Casey Mize in Detroit was up in less than a year. I mean, these things are happening all over the place. 2 and 3 years is an outstanding number. Darren, it used to be 5 or 6 years before you cracked into the big leagues. It is just not that anymore.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing what it's gone to, and shame on the NCAA for not approving a third full-time coach. Oh my God, that's a joke. Assistant coach and 11.7 scholarships, and we bitch and moan about college football and and everything that's wrong with it. And these guys in college baseball are like, hello, we have 27 kids we have to put on scholarship and only less than 12 to put them on scholarship with. What are we doing here? It's embarrassing. All right, speaking of college football, the AAC commissioner, Mike Aresco, did pen an open letter to the world of college football yesterday. Anybody that wanted to read it, basically saying, hey, whoa. And it almost seemed targeted at the ACC, didn't it? Like it almost seemed like.
Yes, very much.
Okay.
That was a good pointed portion of that letter was, guys, I understand your concerns, but sooner or later they're going to be addressed. So let's address them. Let's get it out. Let's address the concerns and move forward, because sooner or later they will be addressed. So let's just discuss it now. That was the point there.
Props to him. I'm all in on that. I know everybody's still trying to figure out what 12 teams should look like. I think seemingly Mike Aresco is in favor of the initial 12-team proposal, the top 6, and then the best 6 after that. But it looked almost like it was pointed right at Jim Phillips in the ACC and saying, essentially, get over yourselves and get a move on it. Because I sense, Darren, this is what I sense, and I might be dead wrong because I'm wrong about a lot of things. But I almost sense that Mike Aresco, as the commissioner of the AAC, is trying to capitalize on the success of Cincinnati. Hey, this just happened. They were just in the college football playoff. Let's move this thing forward while it's fresh in our minds that we were just in this thing. Okay. But I almost feel like he knows something we don't. Is it like, okay, the longer this stretches itself out, the less likely that some of the main power brokers in the sport are willing to play along with this game. Like a Greg Sankey. Greg's been very open about this before. Hey, look, we might get to a point where, I don't know, maybe we don't need to make a move. Maybe we'll just decide not to in the SEC. It almost seems like there's a quiet sense of urgency from the mind of Mike Aresco telling those who have been pumping the brakes on expansion sooner than later, hey, let's move on this before this door closes, and then we've whitewashed this whole deal, and we just don't have a deal for a long, long time.
The area you can poke holes in, he's trying to advance the argument, and he's trying to speed things up, and maybe that's for the betterment of everybody. Maybe it's for his benefit. I mean, if he's doing it, then there's a benefit in his eyes for him, for the league. One of the big parts of what he did yesterday was trying to eliminate the gap, I guess is the right way to put it. But I mean, he wants the label of G5 gone. He wants, because inherently, I mean, I'm paraphrasing what he said, but even if you expand the playoffs, if there's a label of G5, then perception becomes reality, and it's harder for G5 to get in because they're G5. So here's the problem. The gap is getting wider. There's nothing that's going to happen that tightens this gap now. Nothing. Because everywhere college football is moving at whatever faster squirrel or snail pace, it's widening that gap. All of the money coming in favors everyone with the money. So that, I think, is a big part of this as well. Him saying, listen, it's got to be 12. It's got to be the top 6 and then 6 at large, and not just have a group of 5 label anywhere around it. And the G5 thing has to be dropped. That's where, to me, I can poke a lot of holes in that, because G5 label isn't getting dropped.
No.
If anything, we're going to have to rename it something stronger or weaker or something to signify how wide that gap is or is going to be. So the sooner this happens, the sooner the group of 5 can kind of tie itself in with the others. He calls them the anonymous 5, power 5, whatever. But the sooner it happens, the sooner the group of 5 can lock in. The longer this takes, the greater the possibility that that gap is clearer and they don't have as much of a seat at the table anymore.
Agreed. This would never happen. I would play, if I was talking to Mike Aresco, I would play devil's advocate and say, wait, if you want to eliminate the G5 thing, why don't we just include y'all and just call it the Power 6? See what he says.
That's what he wants.
I know. I know. And if he's like, oh, okay, well, that's fine. I'm like, okay, so now you're just whitewashing the rest of the group of 5, or now it's just the group of 4.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're not really defending the group of 5. You're just trying to defend the AAC. Let's just be clear here. Like, you're the commissioner of the AAC. Don't try to act like a spokesman for the rest of the leagues, because you're not. Because you know damn well if the big dogs tried to include you with them, you would say, oh, yeah, it sounds good. We're there. We'll be there in a minute. So here's what I hope, Darren. I hope that, and this nobody listens to me again, so it doesn't matter. But I hope that the Super Bowl just announced over 100 million in the audience again on Sunday, over 100 million, which is pretty standard for the Super Bowl.
Yeah, big up from last year though. It is solid jump from last year.
Yeah, solid jump, still 100 million. The national championship game had 23-ish million. All right, so a quarter, basically, give or take. Well, I tell you what, 23%, if we want to be specific here, of what the total audience was for the Super Bowl. Darren, I'm gonna. This is just a guess here. It's just a guess. I'm gonna guess that a lot of those 100 million people could have given a rat's rear end about the Bengals or the Rams.
Oh yeah, the Super Bowl is an event. Everyone knows
it's an event.
And the NFL is the most watched thing every year by miles, forever.
Like, you're not going to catch it, and I get it. I understand that. Gene Sapkoff said it perfectly yesterday. It's the perfect 4-hour window into American culture.
Yep.
And they have done that. The anthem, the commercials, the halftime show, the celebrities, all that stuff.
Everything.
So, but my question to college football, like this year they play, and every year they play the game on a Monday night. And Gene said yesterday, well, they don't want to compete with the NFL. All right, well, there were 2 games on Saturday in the NFL this year on January the 9th or January the 8th. The national championship was played Monday the 10th, Sunday the 9th, all NFL. Saturday the 8th, there were 2 NFL games. Who cares? It's the final weekend of the year. I get it in the NFL. But if you're college football, one of my major negotiating themes or tactics, if you will, moving forward would be, all right, if we're planning to expand this thing, obviously TV is going to have a ton to do with this, and somebody's going to buy the rights to it. Which one of y'all is willing to put the game on a Saturday and own it? Now, I'm not saying you're going to get to 100 million. You're not. You're not going to get to 90. You're not going to get to 80. You're not going to get to 70. But what if you get to 40? Another 15 million sets of eyeballs by virtue of owning an entire day. Like, could you do it? What if you got to 35? That is 10 million more people watching a game, which is a lot of revenue for these TV companies. They're going to be purchasing the rights to the college football playoff. I just wonder if now is a great time for the college football folks who are openly considering the expansion of the playoff and what to do about the future of the sport and growing it and this, that, and the other, how they could learn from the Super Bowl down the road in owning a day.
What's interesting, everything you're saying makes sense, because on the surface, of course, like, who doesn't want it on a Saturday? We don't know the Super Bowl on a Saturday. On the surface, it makes total sense. But data says Saturdays are not good days for TV. So even though you put all of that logic into the argument, the fact is Saturdays, traditionally, families are out doing stuff. That's why, if you remember growing up when sitcoms were more of a thing, like, you never had them on Saturday night. Saturday night was never a must-see TV viewing night, except for Saturday Night Live, which is, late night, and this isn't an issue anymore. Everyone's home. But it was never a TV viewing night because families aren't around watching TV. That's always been the logic. I don't know how much that has changed, but I know that there's still nothing on Saturday except when the NFL wants to be, and when, college football has Saturdays. That's what college football is. But there's nothing purposely placed on a Saturday for prime viewing. That remains a consistent thing.
Yeah, you're right. You're dead on. I would if I was college football, I'd say change the logic. Let's change the logic. Oh, and by the way, let's do what the NFL does. Kick it off at 6:30, so we're not up until 1 a.m. trying to finish watching the national championship game, because it just gets crazy. All right, we got to go to break. When we return, Keith Allsep with the Locked On The Gamecocks podcast. Carolina Hoops on deck right here on the JB and Goldwater Show. Hopefully, you won't ever need legal help for a catastrophic injury or health issues from a medical drug or device. But if you or a loved one suffers injury or loss, Motley Rice LLC is a nationally recognized law firm that is right here in Mount Pleasant at 28 Ridgeside Boulevard. Thank you, Motley Rice, for sponsoring the JB and Goldwater Show and the Big Gamecock Preview Show. Visit motleyrice.com for more. motleyrice.com.
This is Mike Mazzell for Stokes Volkswagen on Ashley Phosphate Road. You know what happens when you sell record numbers of new vehicles? That's right. We take in record numbers of local trades. Despite what the news is saying, quality pre-owned vehicles really aren't that hard to find. You just need to know where to look. Stokes Volkswagen on Ashley Phosphate and on the web at stokesvw.com. We've got over 1,200 pre-owned cars, trucks, SUVs, and all at a fraction of the price when new. Every vehicle has been inspected and reconditioned, many with the balance of factory warranty. Best of all, at Stokes Volkswagen, you don't need perfect credit to get approved for a quality pre-owned vehicle, and we'll take any trade in any condition, even if you owe thousands more than it's worth. Don't forget, we'll buy your car even if you don't buy a car from us. You're going to love our pre-owned selection, I guarantee it. So come see us today at Stokes Volkswagen on Ashley Phosphate or stokesvw.com.
Peace and love at Stokes VW.
Negative trade equity finance to new loan, subject to lender approval.
Wando Power Equipment, the trusted home of Hustler zero-turn residential and commercial mowers. There is nobody more trusted in South Carolina than our friends from Wando Power Equipment. They've been providing elite commercial and residential service for over 30 years. Landscape Services have turned to their selection of Hustler zero-turn mowers like the Raptor. Bigger, stronger, faster, and the most durable Raptor Hustler has ever designed. Located on Daniel Island and online at wandopower.com. Wando Power Equipment, owned by the Price family, the home of Hustler zero-turn mowers, rentals, service, and specializing in family and friendship.
Family vacations, a new car, a new boat, all cost money, but you don't necessarily have to make more to afford any of that if you can save cash that's flying out the window now. iHelp Consulting can help you finally get the kids to Disney World, upgrade the minivan, or drop that new boat in the water next summer. Let Daniel and iHelp Consulting consult with you. No fees, just savings. You pay them a percentage of those savings. Save on essential services, credit card fees, you name it. Let them find it. These folks are incredible. iHelpConsulting.com. How can I help you?
You hear me talk about Dog and Duck all the time, and there's no other place I'm going to watch my college and NFL than the Dog and Duck. They have 3 locations, Bell Hall, Park West, and Clements Ferry Road. They have specials all football season long, like $12 pitchers of their own D2 brew, $5 pints of Sierra Nevada, weekly pick'em sheets with prizes, and the best wings in town, bar none. For all your football, college, and NFL, the Dog and Duck, Clements Ferry Road, Bell Hall, and Park West.
What's up, everybody? This is South Carolina singer-songwriter Patrick Davis, and I might live in Nashville, Tennessee now, but guess what? I can always keep up with the news back in South Carolina because I've got the JB and Goldwater Show. Thank you, JB and Darren, for being live, loud, and awesome.
Oh, you're welcome. Patrick Davis, damn world traveler coming back from the Bahamas. We'll see him soon. To Nashville and then to Columbia. And let's see, where's he going to go next, Darren? Probably Italy. And leave there. Go to Hawaii. World traveler, singing and writing those songs.
I want to be PD when I grow up.
Drinking all that bourbon. All right. Speaking of a bourbon drinker, no, I'm just kidding. Hey, man, I might not be drinking. It depends on how basketball games go. Keith Allsep, host of the Locked On The Gamecocks podcast. So we didn't have you last week. I was trying to get you scheduled towards the end of the week, and then we had to take a day off. Darren got sick, so that didn't work out. But we had to slide Pat DeMarco in last week. I will say he's better looking than you are.
Well, I mean, that's not breaking news.
We're setting the bar low for you today, Keith. Like we're only going up from here.
Let me just tell you this. You look at me, you look at my wife, I can sell. That's all I'm going to tell you.
Agreed. Yeah, I'm with you. I'm in the same boat. I know. It's that's our best asset.
Yeah, and I'm like Patrick Davis. I'm a big old cock, so
And that concludes today's JB and Goldwater show at 1:34 on this Tuesday afternoon. All right, Keith. Hey, look, I don't know. I literally don't know what's going on. I've intentionally not looked. What's Dawn all hot and bothered about on Twitter? Do you know?
Well, so look, guys, Aaliyah Boston has by far been the best player in women's college basketball this season, bar
No
none.
doubt.
It's not close. And so now, Caitlin Clark, who's a really good player, she has no help. She's basically a one-man band or one-woman band at Iowa.
Mm-hmm.
She's, scoring, 45 points and they still lose or they win close. And I mean, they are a pretty good team. They're a top 20 team. There's all of a sudden this narrative that Caitlin Clark is the best player in the country because look at the ungodly numbers she's putting up. Well, number one, she hadn't beaten 10 ranked opponents. Okay. And she's not doing it in exactly a basketball conference, which is the Big Ten. It's a football conference and a men's basketball conference. I mean, they are a pretty good conference. Michigan, Michigan State, Maryland, Indiana. There are quality teams in the Big Ten. But, I mean, you look at Caitlin Clark and you look at Aaliyah Boston, and I think you kind of understand the way Dawn Staley feels right now. And I'm trying to be politically correct here, but I mean, and I can't speak for her, but being married to a black woman, I kind of have a little unique perspective into that black girl magic. And when they get angry, you can kind of guess 2 or 3 reasons and be right.
All right. So what I'm understanding here is Dawn doesn't believe that Aaliyah Boston is getting the publicity she deserves. Because they'll select the National Player of the Year will be selected in March, right? Mid-March, I guess, or late March, somewhere in there. So does she feel like Caitlin Clark? So she doesn't feel like Aaliyah Boston is getting as much attention as Caitlin Clark. That's it.
Right. And quite frankly, a lot of the pictures you see and the videos when they show the top players in the game is the sheer disappointment and just, heartbreak of the final shot against Stanford. They don't show the new Aaliyah Boston, who's down 15 pounds and, has a lot of glamour photos and a lot of really good photos that make her look good versus, the sheer disappointment and the agony of defeat of that shot against Stanford. Whereas you see a lot different looking pictures and videos of most of the other prominent players in America. And it kind of starts looking like the networks are, kind of have an agenda.
It was apparent, 2-3 nights ago, whenever Iowa last played, there was Caitlin stuff all in. Maybe it's because I was watching basketball all day and they were promoting it, but it was all in my face the last time Iowa played. And it's not like that. I don't remember a day like that with Boston this year.
You're talking about the last time
the last time Iowa women played, the promotion for it across the ESPN platforms was blinding. I mean, it
outside of the game.
Everywhere.
You're talking about everywhere else.
Yeah, like leading up to the game, the day of. I think they played at night, or it was either at night or I saw it one day leading into like an afternoon of the next day. One of the two. But it was a ton of coverage, a ton of watch Iowa, watch Caitlin. And I watch a lot of basketball. I don't see that with Aaliyah Boston.
Wow.
And you also see this in the absence of Paige Beckers as well. But this is kind of starting to remind me of 2017 when there was another player further west in Washington who played for a team that barely made the NCAA tournament, named Kelsey Plum,
Yep.
who put up a ton of stats against not great competition. And she was somehow chosen as the National Player of the Year over Asia Wilson, which was hypocrisy. And, you know, I think that's kind of stuck in the back, you know, somewhere in the subliminal mind, or the subconscious mind rather, of Dawn Staley, is here we go again, guys.
Okay. Well, fair enough. Here's the good news. Dawn Staley's going to have a front row seat to address this on Sunday when College Game Day is parked right on the court at Colonial Life Arena. So whatever here would be my plea to Dawn, who I have the utmost respect for in the world. You're going to say it on social media. I hope when that camera's on you, because it will be, she will be a guest on the show on Sunday. I hope she addresses it, because all of the leaders of any narrative that could be pushed in this sport are going to be sitting right there in that building. She can look them all in the eye and tell them what she thinks.
Yeah, I mean, no doubt. And look, Dawn Staley's very savvy when it comes to the media. And when she gets that bully pulpit, I expect that she will use it to shape the narrative in the manner that she believes and the focus that it should be on, which is, you know, the best player that plays for the best team in the country, which is Aaliyah Boston at South Carolina.
Yeah, Dawn Staley's not going to miss a chance to say what she has to say.
No,
like whatever's on her mind, whatever she wants to say, she will not miss the opportunity. Not only will she not miss it, she will take advantage of it in a way most people can't.
Yeah, I agree. What I like about Dawn, and I've always liked this about her, is obviously she has that Philly in her. So there is the attitude, but Dawn also has a way of producing a Southern grace that you don't realize smacked you across the face until she walks away. You know what I mean? Like, she has that fine line of, this is the fighting side of me is about to come out, but I'm also going to say it fairly eloquently to where you'll figure it out. You know what I mean? And that's not take away too. I mean, Dawn cares more about basketball in general, not just women's basketball, but she loves the sport so much, and she loves, especially as much of a fighter and competitor as she is for seeing the ladies receive equal treatment and things like that. Dawn, I don't see doing this to take away from what Caitlin Clark is doing, but it appears that Dawn wants to make sure that her gal is getting what she deserves on that same level.
Yeah, I mean, no doubt. I mean, look, whoops, we got some feedback here. Hang on.
We get it with you every now and then. I don't know why. Are you not using headphones? Is that it?
It's Texas.
Yeah, that's probably it.
Yeah.
Bear with me.
It's just.
All right. So, can you hear me now?
Yep.
Better. So Dawn Staley may have been raised on the streets of inner city Philadelphia, like the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, but she also has that University of Virginia world-class education. And so she's not only street smart, she's extremely intelligent and extremely eloquent. And this is growing the game. Like, College Game Day is originating from the site of a women's college basketball game for only the third time, the first time in over a decade. And that's growing the sport. And this game will be on ABC, not on ESPN or ESPN2. It's going to be on, one of the major networks. And so this is a huge stage on Senior Day for South Carolina to make a statement to the nation, and for Aaliyah Boston to, quite frankly, in my mind and in most experts' minds, just completely cement her status for not only National Player of the Year, but National Defensive Player of the Year as well.
I totally agree. There's an enormous opportunity for the Gamecocks to make a statement. I almost wish that Tennessee hasn't lost 3 of their last 6 games. I mean, they've lost to Auburn, Florida, and UConn. They've taken it on the chin a little bit. They've been back on the winning side here lately with wins over Missouri and Vanderbilt. But I almost wish that didn't happen because you'd probably be looking at a top 5 matchup.
Yeah, I mean, a couple of weeks ago when the NCAA made their first reveal, Tennessee and South Carolina were both on the one line, and everybody was looking at that game as really the biggest national game for the rest of the regular season between South Carolina and Tennessee. There'll still be a lot at stake. Tennessee has 2 conference losses. South Carolina won, when they were upset on December 30th by Missouri. They've, continued to rip off win after win. Tennessee, not so much.
Yeah.
They lost at Auburn. Then they got boat raced by Florida and UConn. And, quite frankly, an underwhelming and undermanned UConn team. And they've been kind of scuffling, but this will still, in all likelihood, be for the number 1 seed in the SEC tournament and a share of the SEC regular season title Sunday afternoon in Columbia.
Gamecocks have, who is it? Auburn on Thursday? I've lost my schedule. Yeah, Auburn on Thursday, first and foremost. So got to get through that one. 7 o'clock on the SEC network at Colonial Life before the Vols come to town. Only 4 games remain, and that Tennessee game is the final home game of the year for Dawn's Gamecocks before they hit the road for a couple and then into the SEC tournament. So certainly looking forward to it. I can't wait to see what that looks like on national TV. It's going to be a blast, and they've earned it as the best team. And Keith, I real quick, I want to get to the men, but I do want to add this, and it kind of ties everything into what we've discussed with Aaliyah Boston and Dawn being maybe a little bit more than a little bit, very frustrated with her treatment nationally and all that stuff. But when you're the hunted, they're the hunted. They are what UConn has been for so long, and over the last few years, South Carolina has shifted itself largely into that role the majority of the time. Definitely this year, they are the hunted. So they're going to get everybody's best shot every time they get on the floor. Everybody knows about Aaliyah Boston that they play. It's not like she's not scouted. Maybe nationally they're not talking about her enough, but as a former coach in the locker room, the other teams are talking about Aaliyah Boston. So the fact that she's got 17 straight double-doubles when all the attention is on her game in and game out is remarkable. And the amount of teams, the large number of talented teams that they're going through to continue winning basketball games, that's even more evidence that Aaliyah Boston should be at the top of the food chain when it comes to the National Player of the Year conversation.
Yeah, I mean, without a doubt, you go back and look at her, her stat lines in the biggest games, and nobody holds her in check. Every big game, she plays at the top of her game, whether it's UConn, Stanford, Oregon, you name it, going back over the list of wins. Everybody knows South Carolina is going to play through her. Everybody knows she's the focal point of the offense, and still nobody can stop her from getting a double-double. 18 times this season in 24 games and 17 in a row, and that's only going to grow, I think, this week leading into that showdown against Tennessee on Sunday, where you'll have the top 2 rebounding teams and the longest, tallest 2 teams in the Southeastern Conference on the floor with the Vols, Lady Vols, and the Gamecocks.
Can't wait. Really can't wait. Carolina is looking just to keep doing what they've been doing. Win games, Auburn, Tennessee this week. Keith Allsep hosted the Locked On The Gamecocks podcast. All right, Keith. So tonight at 7 in Oxford, Gamecocks just 2-15 on the road playing the Rebels in their home gym all time. Only those 2 wins have come very sparingly. 08, 2016. Frank 6-8 versus Ole Miss, just 1-5 in Oxford as the coach. At Carolina, South Carolina's lost 3 straight in the series. The Rebels, though, they've lost 3 straight games just coming into this one, but only by an average of 8 points per game. Florida, Alabama, and Missouri. They were in Gainesville and in Columbia, Mizzou. Prior to that, a little bit of a trend here. That was probably their best time of the year. They had won 3 of 4. Did Ole Miss, Florida, Kansas State, and Ole Miss, and LSU were those 3 wins. But good news for the Gamecocks. They're 500 on the road in the SEC with wins at Vanderbilt, A&M, and Georgia. Vanderbilt, much like Oxford, for whatever reason, it's a place that we can never figure out why they can't win. But they did go to Nashville this year and win in Memorial Gym, so that's nice. Maybe that's a good omen for tonight's game. We all know what it is. We all understand. Nobody should be talking about the NCAA tournament or anything like that, Keith. They just got to go win games, and then we can start having conversations down the road about what should happen and must happen and whatever. But they did beat Georgia again on Saturday over there in Athens. So what are you expecting to see tonight?
So I think if you combine men's and women's basketball against Georgia, it's like 27 straight wins
28
over the Bulldogs. Dawn Staley's team, that was their 15th consecutive win over Georgia, and the men have won 12 straight. I mean, look, 2 weeks ago on your show, I downplayed Kentucky, and I said the 3 games for South Carolina would be Tennessee at home, at Georgia, at Ole Miss. Okay, well, they split those 2 games. They played incredibly well against Kentucky. Okay, they played, they just collapsed the final 15 minutes against Tennessee at home after playing, a great first 25 minutes. These next 2 games at Ole Miss and then a scuttling LSU team, which is vulnerable coming into Colonial Life Arena on, a big celebration weekend. To me, these are the circle the wagon games. This is the OK Corral. This is Little Bighorn. This is everything you want to say it is for Frank Martin, because these are 2 winnable games for South Carolina, which would get them to 7-7 in league play with 4 games remaining. Frank Martin said earlier this season it's a 6-game season. To me, it's really a 5-game season, because throw out the last game of the season at Auburn. You got no chance of that. They're the best team in the country. It'll be senior day. Bruce Pearl may have his chest painted blue and orange for that game. But South Carolina does have winnable games, but it all starts tonight, and we'll know Saturday after LSU, in my opinion, if Frank Martin will or probably will not be the coach of South Carolina after this season, because 2 wins, he's got a shot. 2 losses, there's no shot at redemption for Frank Martin, in my opinion.
I think that's fair.
I mean, it's a good way of looking at it, because these are winnable games. LSU has won, I think, 2 in a row now, ending that disastrous skid. But I was looking at this Ole Miss thing closely today, and we've talked a lot about efficiency on offense for South Carolina and how that's a key, because if that's a disaster like it has been at times, then the defense is throw it out the window, basically, because it's just a boat race going back and forth. The theme of this one is different, because South Carolina, if they can turn Ole Miss over, and Ole Miss likes to turn the ball over, they have one of the higher turnover rates in the country, and South Carolina is good. They're a top team as well. I think a top 50 or top 100 at turning over. Yeah, they're 5th in the SEC. If they're generating turnovers, if this is a South Carolina lockdown Frank Martin thing, that's going to then feed into their offense tonight. And that this line at 4, I'm talking myself basically into South Carolina, because I don't see any way that Ole Miss puts up huge numbers unless South Carolina is not active defensively and they're getting clean looks. That's the only way that this game extends for Ole Miss. Otherwise, this game should be a close game. If South Carolina keeps that bench short, plays defense like we know they can in a slower paced game, this game should be close.
I mean, Darren, I agree. I think the big X factor for me is what happens when, you do go to the bench. And when are we going to see all of South Carolina's key players making shots, like Kentucky, for instance? Keyshawn Bryant, Wildens Levesque, and Jermaine Cousinard played lights out. But then you had Reese and Stevenson combined for 1 of 10 from 3. And Stevenson, I'm sorry, Reese had some in that run after South Carolina cut it to 3 or to 1, and then Kentucky went on a 15-2 run to end it. Reese had 3 wide open looks, great looks from 3, and really didn't come close with any of them. South Carolina's guards have got to make shots, and how did the freshman guards play on the road versus at home? Because Jacoby Wright, to me, has really just been overwhelmed at times and not really been much of a factor, particularly, against Tennessee, Kentucky, or Georgia, quite frankly. Devin Carter, different story. But who's going to play point guard? Because Jamie, you said a couple weeks ago, they're better when Jermaine doesn't have to do it. But can a freshman shoulder that load on the road in the SEC? That's going to go a long way in determining the outcome of the game tonight, in my opinion. And then, do we get good Keyshawn or bad Keyshawn? It's kind of like when Chris Silva, his first 3 years, he was either on the floor for 35 minutes with 19 points and 11 rebounds, or on the floor 5 minutes with 2 points and 3 rebounds and foul trouble. That is really been an X factor for South Carolina, and how well they have or have not played has been the production and the floor time you get from Keyshawn Bryant.
They'll benefit tonight. I'll leave it at this. They'll benefit tonight with one of the reasons the SEC is so good. It's because every team, like metric wise, is off the charts. The top half of the league defensively is off the charts. Ole Miss is off the charts too, but it's on the opposite direction. It is not an active defensive team, so it shouldn't really fluster South Carolina offensively.
That's a great point. Do you bet on games or something?
I mean, if you could play that game in Stegman Memorial Coliseum, I think South Carolina would win by 15 points. But
play every game.
Like Lou Holtz used to say, well, there's nothing wrong about playing at Tennessee. It's just that you have to play Tennessee at Tennessee.
Your point on Keyshawn is a bingo type moment. Keyshawn, I don't know if anybody's counted or not, but in his last 2 games has a combined 40 points and 20 rebounds. I mean, he's played his best basketball of the year, maybe the best basketball of his career. I think he shot a combined like 65% in the last 2 games from the field as well. I mean, it's been outstanding what he has been able to do against Kentucky and then on the road at Georgia. And you're right, Keith. They need him. And they need Jermaine too down the stretch. I mean, those are the look. Frank hit the nail on the head over the weekend. He's dead on, and we've all been able to see this for a while. And I'm glad he said it publicly, so it makes me feel smarter. But I mean, Keyshawn and Jermaine, Reese, Stevenson, those are your leaders. And like you could get by, right, Keith, with 1 or 2 of them playing really well in a game like Georgia or maybe Missouri. But when you play the better teams, like all of those guys, they've got to find a way to play pretty good basketball in order for them to have a chance.
Yeah, I mean, no doubt. I mean, look back to Wildens Levesque performance against Kentucky. That's against one of the top lines in the country, and he was like 7 for 8 or 8 for 9 from the field in that game. That's clearly the best performance of his career, and you really are going to need that down the stretch, which will create more open looks for your perimeter players.
Spot on. We'll see if they can get it done tonight. By the way, if they win tonight and if Florida loses, Carolina will have the 5th best record in the league for anybody that's counting. And by tomorrow night, it could be creeping up even more with who else is still playing. I think LSU and Mississippi State play tomorrow night. So, to your point, Keith, you made a really, really interesting point. LSU coming up next, following this Ole Miss game. These two, if you win both of them, you've
7-7. You're 7-7 in league play with a very winnable road game at Alabama, who's kind of a helter-skelter team, and still 2 home games. One against Missouri and one against Mississippi State, who's really good, but who plays really poorly away from home.
Just out of curiosity, what are you hinting at there? If they, all right, let's, and I know it's 1:59. Buy me 2 minutes here, Darren. Let's play the game here. Let's play a game. What does this mean if they get through the season at 18-12 and they find a way to 9-9 in the Southeastern Conference? What would that mean?
I think they're a reasonably high seed in the NIT, and I think they have the chance to play their way into the tournament in the SEC tournament. It'd probably take 2 wins
20,
to get in the NCAA tournament. But it's on the table if you get to 7-7, in my opinion, because then you've got momentum. You've got home games still coming. Like if you beat Ole Miss tonight, you come home and beat LSU in front of what I have to believe will be
it's going to be a big
very good crowd.
Yeah.
The crowd's been there, guys, against Tennessee and Kentucky. It's been loud.
Yeah.
You get to 7-7, then more people are coming Wednesday when you play Mississippi State. And then you go to Alabama, and then you come back home against Missouri. I mean, they're not down and out. I mean, but to me, these next 2 games are going to go a long way. And I think you get to 9-9, 18-12. You win a game in the SEC, and you see what happens, depending on what else happens over the course of that tournament weekend of being on the bubble. Then you get, even if NCAA or NIT, you win a couple games. Hey, G.G. Jackson, the number 1 in the player, very much on the table. Frank Martin definitely coming back with an excellent recruiting class. And so there is a lot to play for this week. No doubt about
it. I think I like this Allsep guy. He's got a chance. All right, what are we looking for this week and listening for on the Locked On The Gamecocks podcast?
Well, I kind of been thrown behind. I had a major vertigo flare up starting on Sunday. It's kind of got me heavily medicated, and I'll probably need a nap right after this. But we had Augusta Stone from Go Gamecocks today with her stone cold takes on Gamecock women's basketball. We'll be talking more Gamecock basketball throughout the week leading up to, this weekend, finally recognizing the 1996-97 Gamecocks that went 15-1 and won the SEC, beat eventual national champion Kentucky.
Yep.
Beat them like a dog twice. Once in a just bonkers Carolina Coliseum, and once at Kentucky when they played my old Kentucky home with Rick Pitino and 11 McDonald's All-Americans. South Carolina skunked them on a Sunday in Lexington in front of, the home crowd at Kentucky.
And it was senior night up there.
Right. And it was their senior day. They had Ron Mercer and just a litany. I mean, hell, he hardly even played. He was a freshman.
Yep.
And Eddie Fogler's team took them to task. They're recognizing them. They're recognizing the 1971 team that won the Atlantic Coast Conference tournament when 6'3" Kevin Joyce out-jumped 6'10" Lee Dedman in the old Charlotte Coliseum, tipped it to Tommy Owens, who laid it off the glass at the buzzer, and the Gamecocks won the ACC. And Frank Martin has made a valid point. that's the first time 25 years that team's going to be recognized, the 96-97 team. His Final Four team still never properly been recognized, and South Carolina waited until the week of to start promoting this thing. I mean, the South Carolina 7-6 football team has been recognized twice at basketball games this season. Not once has a former basketball team or player really been recognized. And to me, that's one of the sticking points. You want to be really good in a sport, you need to promote that sport really well. And that's something that I just can't say that South Carolina has done. Hell, even after they went to the Final Four, the media guides didn't get printed and sent out until February of the following year.
You know, Frank has opened up a little bit lately with some things I think that maybe have been bubbling below the surface for him. I mean, he mentioned Darren. It was strange yesterday hearing him mention the fact that you and I and JC talked about this last week. You know, there's an 18,000 seat arena, which I love Colonial Life Arena. I love the arena. I've been in it a million times. We're going to be in it on Saturday with my little girls. I can't wait. I love the building. I love the facility. But is it right for Gamecock Hoops with just everything where everything is now? And Frank's flat out said yesterday, Auburn seats 9,000. You put 8,000 in there, the place is bonkers. We seat 8,000. It's like there's nobody in the gym because it seats 18,000.
It's too big. It's too big.
He was just straight up. So, I mean, Keith,
I agree with him.
Not to just draw this thing out, but I know that Darren's got to run. He's got a betting meeting to get to. Probably some.
I have a kid waiting outside elementary school who's going to yell at me when I'm 2 minutes late.
I think one thing that we need to, and I'm not going to draw this out, but just one thing that, maybe it's time for Frank. Like he might be having to fight for his job in the future. And I know that there's a lot of fans out there that don't want to hear Frank Martin literally say anything other than everything's my fault and I'm, terrible. And that's their narrative. And I get it. I get it. People they want to just see wins. They don't care about butts and seats on. I get that. But maybe it's also time for Frank, like, hey man, if we're going to start airing laundry, let's air it. Let's do it. Our camera angle sucks. Our students aren't on TV. We don't do enough to promote the program. Why do we spread 8,000 people out in here? Just close the upper deck and bring them down below. We can do it. There's a way to do it. They figure out how to do it. If you're Frank, why not just air it out? Let's all bitch about it and complain about it publicly. I wouldn't blame him one bit. I'd actually like him to do that. I think it'd be great.
I mean, I definitely think he has, legitimate complaints. I also think there's the other side of the coin, which is you did go to the Final Four. You made that incredible run, and then you did not do it really anything to take advantage of it.
True.
And
two sides.
You got to win. Yeah. You got to, get guard play runs college basketball. And since PJ Dozier left, South Carolina has not had one guy run the point for an entire season in Frank Martin's tenure. But I do believe he has legitimate beef on a lot of levels with the administration for the way they have failed to promote the program and failed to help give him an opportunity to properly promote his program.
I think we're all correct here, because also the reality of it is if they weren't 14-10, if they were, 18-6 right now, there'd be 16,000 people in that arena
Absolutely.
Coming up this weekend for the LSU game. So let's hope there is anyways. Beat the crap out of Ole Miss tonight, and then I'll be there. Hey, I'll sign an autograph. Anybody want an autograph? I'll sign somebody's autograph. I'll sign my name as Darren.
So,
Darren
but
Goldwater.
Are they savvy enough to do what Dawn Staley did when Asia Wilson made her official visit to South Carolina? I'll never forget, they played Florida. It was on a Sunday afternoon, and they had 10, 12,000 T-shirts printed up that all said on the front, "There's no place like home." Okay, this is your chance with the championship teams, great players, what should be a great atmosphere against a quality opponent on Saturday afternoon to make a compelling case to the best player in the country that's in your backyard.
Spot on. G.G. Jackson will be there, the number one player in the country. Keith, we got to let you run on that note. Darren's late for the carpool line, and I don't need an 8-year-old getting mad at me.
Angry Grayson coming up.
Hey,
well, if mama ain't happy, ain't nobody happy, and you don't want the locks to be changed when you get back home, brother.
We've been close in this house before. Great stuff. I hope you feel better. Thank you very much. Next time we talk to you, baseball season will be underway as well, so we'll mix in some of that. Good stuff. Thanks, Keith.
Thank you. Have a great week, guys.
He's got a nice swing there. He must have been swinging on the Griffey tees. Thanks to Keith Allsep and Gamecock baseball head coach Mark Kingston for joining us today. If you missed anything there, he dished on a lot. It was fun, including who throws the better party, him or Shane Beamer. J.C. Sherbert is tomorrow. I think Tony Skoll is tomorrow as well. If not, we'll have him on Thursday. Guess who else is Thursday? We just mentioned it. Shane Beamer. Got a busy week still ahead. And then, hey, baseball season kicks off on Friday, and we will have something special for that, I can assure you, on that front. For Darren, for Keith, and for Mark Kingston, thanks for joining us. JB and Goldwater Show presented by Motley Rice. We'll be back tomorrow at noon. Download the app. We'll see you then.